Hi Earthlings, I'm Trice. In this video, you will learn how to attract anyone into your life. It could be a lover, an ex, a benefactor, a famous person, or a mentor. It matters not. If you follow these 3 easy steps, you are going to be saying hello before you know it. Let's get started. Have you ever heard that old saying, knowing what you want is half of getting it? Well, the very first step to attract anybody you want is know who you want to attract. Now, if you have the name, great, set that person aside. But what if you don't have a person's name? For example, about 13 years ago, I decided that I wanted to get married. Now, to whom, I didn't know. I didn't have a specific person in mind. So even though I didn't have the person's name, I knew the essence of what that person possessed. And I started creating a list. I want them to be a guy, because I wanted to marry a guy. I wanted them to be ambitious. I wanted them to be spiritual more than religious. The whole story is right here. But with that, of course, I started attracting guys into my life that kind of fit the bill. Like one guy had everything on my list, but he wasn't into me. So I went home and on my list I scribbled, loves me as much as I love him, as an essential requirement for this husband that I was trying to attract. So the list will evolve. It won't be one sitting period and you'll be done with it. You can add things as your consciousness grows as to who this person is. Now, creating a list is super fun. It's almost like ordering your specific person from the universe. But it's just going to be another old piece of paper unless you do this one next thing. The second step to attract your specific person is to daydream or visualize how your life would be and feel with them in it. And if you're like, Trice, are you telling me daydreaming is going to bring this famous person into my life? Yeah, and I'm going to tell you my story, how I attracted Michael Keaton that way. But first, I'm going to tell you why it works. If you know anything about parallel realities or quantum jumping, it's this concept that all realities exist at the same time. And the portal to access them is through our imagination. The imagination is not some place to escape from reality. It's a place to access unlimited realities. Because when you go through the gateway of your imagination and see, fantasize, daydream about this reality, you bring something back with you, the energy and the vibration of that reality into your current reality. And if everything is energy, if you believe that fundamental fact, I'm energy, this couch is energy, you are a ball of beautiful energy, then it's the energy that attracts what you want. I grew up in Montana and I heard as a child that Michael Keaton lived there. Michael Keaton played in Batman. That was the first movie that I ever saw. And even though maybe he's about 20 some years older than me, I had a mega crush on him. I thought he was the coolest dude in the entire universe. And I would sit around and daydream and fantasize about us going on hikes together. I got lost in this fantasy. And even though I didn't know I was harnessing the power of the law of attraction back then, guess who showed up in my life? I was working at this little knick-knacky gift shop called Montana Gift Corral. And outside the front window, I swear I see Michael Keaton. So even though I'm on my shift in my little shift uniform, really bland, boring, think khaki and denim, I walk to the front door and stand outside and I'm seeing Michael Keaton across the street. Now, obviously, I can't leave the place. I didn't yell and say, hey, Michael Keaton, love of my life, I'm over here. But I stood out there long enough for him to see me. And then I walked back inside. And guess who showed up 5 minutes later? Mr. Michael Keaton. Fast forward, he said, hey, do you want to get some drinks? This example is to showcase that no matter who you are, where you come from, what connections you have or do not have, you can meet and interact with anybody that you desire if you align your energy and vibration with theirs. And how do you do that? How do you take action after you've daydreamed and imagined? You only have to do this one simple thing that's at your fingertips. The third step to attract anybody that you desire is to follow your intuition. And I'm going to give you some concrete examples on how to do that. First, how do you know if it's your intuition speaking, or your nerves, or your excitement, or your desire? Intuition, I have noticed through my experience, it's not emotional, not at first. It first comes as a pop, it just pops in my mind. It's a brand new thought, but it is not fearful. For example, I get a little afraid of flying, and I am so into the law of attraction. Before the flight, I'm always like, oh my gosh, something's gonna happen. And I'm like, is that my intuition? No, that's my fear, because the instant the thought comes in my head, it's already coated in a candy cane layer of fear. Intuition usually arrives pure, just as a thought, plunk. And then emotions will come and be attracted to it. Another big thing about it is it can be easily dismissed. For example, a little over a decade ago, I decided that I was going to be a financial planner. And I went to this talk and saw this beautiful lady, Jerry Pale, giving a talk. And she had $5 million clients. And I was like, I want to be like her. Now, I had no professional experience. I hadn't went back to school yet, and I had only my investing experience, but I had never worked for somebody. But when I was hearing her talk, I noticed that she's left-handed. And I know this fun fact about left-handers, that only 10% of the world is left-handed, and 3% of that 10% are women. So I was inspired, or I had a flash to write her a letter thanking her for her talk, but on the outside of the envelope, write that fact. She ended up calling me, and I did not get a job as a financial planner because I had no experience, but she gave me a job as her secretary so I could sit right next to her and watch her be herself, which is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to learn how she became what she became. And even with my Michael Keaton story, my intuition was to go outside. I couldn't leave the building because I was working, but at least enough for him to see me. Now you see how easily both of those things could have been dismissed. Like I could have easily said, oh, there's Michael Keaton. I just adore him and love him so much. Too bad I'm working. Or Jerry Pale, I could have been like, well, I don't have any experience yet, so maybe someday I'll call her when I get more prepared. But I did neither of those. I followed my intuition, and you can do exactly the same. Now, those are the 3 steps. You can be complete with them, but if you want to supercharge and move that specific person into your life a whole lot faster, sprinkle a little bit of this magic on top. I wasn't conscious of this superpower for decades, but if you really want to attract anybody at the speed of light, own your sensuality. And this does not mean running around in a half shirt and hot pants unless you want to. That is completely not necessary. For example, when I worked at Jerry Pale, she took me aside one day and said, Trice, can you dress a little less sexy? Now, I wasn't even wearing this. I was wearing a long sleeve shirt with a little scarf tied around my neck and long pants and high heels. I said, woman, I'm covered from head to toe. What do you mean? And she couldn't quite verbalize it, and I didn't quite catch on either. But now that I've been so conscious of the law of attraction, I realize it's an energy, it's a feeling, and the feeling can come from anything. I feel like the leaves on the trees blowing has a very sensual energy. It's like they're being caressed and hugged by the wind. Eating a chocolate chip cookie, how it feels so satisfying, can be sensual. It's really slowing down and noticing the unique parts about being alive. Feeling your breath can be sensual. This is the language of joy, ease, possibility, excitement that is so powerful that people that you want in your life cannot resist it. Anybody, absolutely anybody, even your cat could do this. To cultivate your sexual energy, Just find things that bring you joy. A bubble bath, lotion all over your body, especially when there's a lot of stress and things get fast-paced and you're homeschooling your kids. The opposite of sexual energy is feeling rushed, is feeling stressed, and feeling depressed. So think of it as a calling card for self-care. Connect yourself to that beautiful life force flowing energy inside you, and you will be like a magnet for all that you desire. And until next time, my darling earthlings, ciao.